So if you're a manager or a team lead, you know this already. Making sure your team produces quality work isn't something you just do once. It's a constant moving target. That's why today, we're going to do a little manager's self-audit. We're going to walk through a really powerful framework to help you check in on your own quality control systems. Ready? Let's dive in.
You know, this quote really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It doesn't matter if your team is coding software, building cars, or serving coffee. This challenge is absolutely universal. It's a core part of being a leader. The good news is there are real, concrete ways to get better at it, and that's exactly what we're going to explore together.
Okay, before we jump in, let's get our mindset right. This is not a test. It's not about grading your performance. Think of it more like a checkup. So as we go, if you find yourself thinking no to a question, that's not a failure. Heck no. It's a bright, flashing sign pointing you directly to an opportunity for massive improvement.
We'll be working directly from this checklist right here. It's simple, but it's powerful. Think of me as your guide as we walk through these questions together. We're going to break it all down into a few key areas to give you a really complete picture of your whole quality control system.
First up, the foundation. It's pretty simple, really. You can't hit a target you can't see. Quality always begins with having crystal clear standards. So let's check in and see just how clear those standards really are for you and for your team.
Let's start with you. Before you can communicate anything to anyone, do you know precisely what good looks like? Could you describe it in detail? The specific design, the layout, the finish, the exact customer response time? Because if it's even a little fuzzy in your mind, I guarantee you it's going to be a total blur for your team.
So maybe you know the standards, but are they written down somewhere? And, more importantly, are they current? Think about it. Out-of-date documentation is actually worse than having none at all. It actively leads people down the wrong path, which just creates waste and rework. A regular review is just non-negotiable.
And this one is so crucial. No manager is an island, right? If there's any ambiguity, any little doubt about a standard, have you gone and sought clarification from the source, whether that's your boss or a client or a technical expert? Because making assumptions is how those tiny little deviations turn into major problems.
The takeaway here is really simple. Clarity is the absolute, non-negotiable first step. Without it, you get inconsistent work, you get frustrated employees, and you get unhappy customers. Everything else is built on shaky ground. So once you have that solid foundation, then you can start building on it.
Okay, so you've got clear, documented, and verified standards. Awesome. That's a great start. But, they don't do anybody any good locked away in a binder or just sitting in your head. The next critical piece of the puzzle is communication.
I want you to think about your whole team right now, from the person who just started last week to the 10-year veteran. Does every single one of them know the current standards? Have you made it a point to clearly communicate all the recent changes to everyone they affect?
This is all about closing that feedback loop. It's not enough for your team to just know the standard. They need to know how their own work actually measures up against it. Is your feedback kind of general, or is it specific enough for them to actually do something with it and improve?
And this just sums it all up, doesn't it? A standard written down somewhere is just static information. It's only through effective, continuous communication that information turns into real understanding and becomes a living, breathing part of your team's daily work.
All right, so your team knows the standards, and they know how they're doing against them. But here's the big question. Do they care? Now we pivot from the what to the why. This section is all about the human element, motivation.
What's so cool here is how we can reframe this as 3 actionable steps for you. First, connect their work to a real person, the customer. Show them how what they're doing makes someone's life better. That taps into a sense of purpose. Second, connect quality to job security. High-quality work makes for a healthy company, which means stability for everyone. And third, be transparent with the data. Show them the numbers, like reject rates. It makes the impact real and gives everyone a sense of shared ownership.
Motivation is a powerful thing, but it needs to be supported by the right systems. So now, let's take a hard look at your actual processes. Do your systems make it easy to produce high-quality work, or are they creating a bunch of unnecessary friction for your team? When it comes to feedback, you know what matters most? Speed. It's everything. Can you spot a quality issue and get that info to the right person within a few hours, or does it take days or even weeks? The shorter that feedback loop, the faster the learning. Slow, vague feedback, it's pretty much useless.
Now, let's be really clear here. This is not about assigning blame. Not at all. This is about diagnosis and coaching. If you can't trace an issue back to its source, you can't help the person responsible improve their process or get the training they need. It's all about pinpointing problems so you can provide support, not punishment.
And hey, feedback isn't just for mistakes. This is a huge one. When you get a compliment from a happy customer or your own boss praises the team's work, do you pass it on right away? Sharing positive feedback is one of the most powerful and honestly one of the easiest ways to reinforce those high standards.
So here's the big takeaway for this section. Your job is to design systems that make doing high-quality work the path of least resistance. That's a fundamental shift in thinking. Good processes don't just catch errors after they happen. They're designed to prevent them from happening in the first place.
And that brings us to our final and maybe the most important section of all, empowering your team. We've covered standards, communication, motivation, and systems. But true sustainable quality, that comes from shifting from top-down control to bottom-up empowerment.
This is a real gut check question, right? Are you asking your team for A+ work but giving them C- tools? You just can't expect people to hit high standards if they're constantly fighting with their equipment or trying to make do with subpar materials. Are you setting them up for success, or are you setting them up for frustration?
The people doing the work, day in and day out, they are your greatest source of insight, period. Have you genuinely created an environment where they feel safe and encouraged to bring you ideas for how to make things better? This is that big shift from simply enforcing quality to co-creating a culture of quality.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway from this entire checkup. Your main role as a manager isn't to be the quality cop running around looking for errors. It's to be an architect, designing an environment where your team has the clarity, the communication, the motivation, and the systems they need to do their absolute best work.
And with that, our self-audit is complete. We've walked through the core components of quality control. So now I'm just going to leave you with this final question. Looking back over everything we just covered, what is the one no, the one single opportunity that you are going to act on first? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.